Hey there, this is KraDeNine. I'll be covering some topics everyone should know about if you're starting Final Fantasy XIV to make your gameplay experience a lot smoother. There will be links for some of the topics that we discuss in the video in the description down below. So here's a bit about myself. I'm FFXIV. I'm a Seeker of the Sun Miqo'te on the Sargatanas server. My main job is Red Mage and I've been an active player since about 2015. I've been an endgame raid player and felt that I wanted to help people who are starting this game more recently, since I was helping a couple of my friends who started recently as well. Let's get started with what kind of game Final Fantasy XIV is. It's a story-based MMO. The primary focus will be the story, so you're on a semi-linear pathway throughout the game. There is a free trial available up until you reach the end of Heavensward, which is the first expansion of the game. Story, of course, isn't the only thing that Final Fantasy XIV has to offer though. There's endgame boss content such as raiding, there's crafting, there's PvP, there's gathering for your crafting stuff as well, and even housing if you want your own home. With that, let's get started. Starting off, join the data center you have the most friends on. For the most part, Aether, Primal, and Crystal are North American based, Chaos and Light are European, and Elemental, Gaia, and Mana are Japanese servers. If you're playing for the first time, check to see what the preferred server may be for the region you're interested in. There's a server experience boost for about 3 months up until 10 levels of the max level of the expansion, so if the max level is 80, all your jobs will get an experience boost up until 70. There will be times where you will not be able to make a character due to character server restrictions. If you actively need a server like Cactuar or Sargatanas, wait a little bit, they'll open up. They tend to open up more character creation during the morning or late night hours. Creating a character can take quite a long time, so don't worry, take your time. You can always change your hairstyle and some facial features in-game for in-game currency. Things like race, you will need to use an item called Fantasia to change. Once you've purchased the game, players do get one Fantasia for free if you ever want to swap your race. The races of Final Fantasy XIV are the Hyur, the human-like race of the game, Miqo'te, which is the cat-like race with cat ears and cat tails, Elizans, which are the elves, Rogadin, which is the most muscular and biggest race of the bunch, similar to like a barbarian if anything, Lalafels, which are the dwarf-oriented race. They do have a more childlike appearance out of the bunch. Aura, the humanoid dragon, they have horns, a tail, and scales throughout their body. The two races restricted to having to purchase Shadowbringers or a future expansion as of right now is the Hrothgar, a large bulky feline. As of right now they are restricted to males only, but will have a female option added in the future. And rounding up the bunch, we have the Viera. They're a tall female-only race right now with bunny features. The male option will be added during the Endwalker expansion. Each race will have 2 subsections with minor differences. I'm a Miqo'te, and the major difference is that the Seeker of the Sun has slit eyes, while the Keeper of the Moon has fangs in their mouth. So choose whichever you like. Once you've chosen that, customize your character however you want. More hairstyles will be available through in-game options. Following that, we have the Name Day and Guardian. These can be whatever you want. They don't impact your game or your stats enough to really warrant any kind of worry. Let's dive into how jobs work in Final Fantasy XIV. And just a quick thing to note, classes and jobs are used interchangeably in this game. They mean the same thing. Jobs are separated into 7 categories: tanks, healers, physical DPS, ranged DPS, magical DPS, crafters, and gatherers. Unlike many other MMOs, Final Fantasy allows your sole character to be any job you want to play without the need of having to sign in and out and create other alts, or alternative characters. Want to be a paladin? Equip a sword and shield. Feeling like casting something with high damage? Just equip a staff and now you're a black mage. Maybe you want to take a break from the action with Pan, you can go ahead and be Gordon Ramsay and be a culinarian. Each job will start off in a different area. At the start, there are 3 main city hubs: Ul'dah, the desert landscape, Limsa Lominsa, the port city, and Gridania, the forest nation. They will all connect around level 20 in the main questline, so don't worry on which one you choose. You will be able to explore all of this plus more. Keep in mind that at level 30, if you do your job questline, each job will advance into another one with a soul stone. That's how a gladiator becomes a paladin. The soulstone is something you need to equip, so make sure that once you're level 30 and you do your job quest line, you'll want to equip the soulstone. It will go ahead and give you new abilities and just make your class even more powerful. In terms of tanks, you have the gladiator, which becomes paladin and they use a sword and shield, marauder, which leads into warrior and they use a great axe, Dark Knight, which unlocks when you enter Heaven's Ward's Ishgard, the first expansion. The weapon of choice is a great sword, and Gunbreaker, which use gun blades, who unlock once you reach level 60 on any job and have Shadowbringers unlocked. You don't need to be in Shadowbringers, just have it unlocked on your account. As for healers, you have the Conjurer, which is a white mage, which will be using canes primarily, Arcanist, which is a dual job that leads into Scholar, the healer variant, and Summoner, the magical DPS variant. They both use books. Astrologian, whom use Star Globes, and also unlocks when you enter Ishgard, the first expansion Heaven's Ward. With melee DPS, you have the Pugilist, which will unlock into a monk, and the weapons of choice are like fist weapons. Lancers, which turn into Dragoon and use polearms. Rogues, which you can unlock at level 10 on any job and turns into a ninja, they use 2 daggers. And Samurai, who uses katanas, which unlocks when you reach level 50 and have Stormblood unlocked. Similar enough, just be level 50 on any job, have Stormblood unlocked, and you can go ahead and get the Samurai. With the range DPS that consists of Archer, which is a bard and the weapon of choice is a bow, Machinists, who use firearms and will also unlock when you reach the first expansion Heaven's Ward, and Dancer, who use Chakrams, which will unlock at level 60 and you have Shadowbringers unlocked. Finally, we have the magical DPS. We have Thaumaturge, which leads into Black Mage, and they use staves. Summoners, who also use books as we mentioned earlier, which is a branch of Arcanist. Red Mage, who uses Rapiers, which also unlocks when you have a class at level 50 and you have Stormblood unlocked on your account. There's also Blue Mage, who use Canes, which is a limited job. Being a limited job, it means they have heavier restrictions and can't normally queue up with other players. You'll be queuing up with a pre-made party due to those restrictions. Blue Mage is more of the gotta catch 'em all, as instead of getting skills from leveling and quests, you'll be getting them from killing monsters and learning their abilities. It's a nice job to relax and just have fun with. But you also need to have a job at level 50 already to get the Blue Mage unlocked. So keep that in mind. In Final Fantasy XIV, even crafting and gathering jobs are their own jobs. A quick run over, we have the Carpenter, the Blacksmith, the Armorer, the Goldsmith, Leatherworker, Weaver, Alchemist, and Culinarian, with gatherers being Miner, Botanist, and Fisher. These are completely optional and the game does not force you to take part of it if you're not interested in it at all. But it's a nice option to kind of wind down, do some fishing, do some mining, craft a couple items, make some gil on the market board, and overall just have a good pleasant time just taking it easy. Now that you've made your character, picked your job, let's talk about what type of quests there are in the game to just get you started and understanding in what the process looks like. So we have the main story quest line, which is the MSQ, the main scenario quests. This will be your primary quest line. It's signified with a flame emblem. By going through it, you'll be leveling up and advancing through the story of Final Fantasy. Following that, we have the blue quest line. This will be jobs and featured quests. The blue quest will lead you into additional dungeons, job quest lines, raids, essentially anything that you will want to do to advance and add content to your character. Following that, we have the yellow quest line. Usually these are side quests. With some exceptions, they are just additional experiences and additional content, some fun tidbits of story and lore to the area. Some do lead into important content, but those are only a handful. These can be signified by having a banner when you speak to the NPC. So if you see a little banner or a little picture when you speak to an NPC and you see like something cool there, then that means it's probably something you want to do because it's going to lead into something else later on. We then have the repeatable quests. These can be done once a day with a daily reset, or weekly quests with a reset of every Tuesday. They'll usually give you a timer of when you can do the next one or how many you're able to do that day for whatever reason, but for the most part you'll be doing this for the Beast Tribes and some very other instances, which again we'll talk about more later on. Leave quests, you get about 6 leave allowances per day, and they sum and cap at 99. Leaves are little quests that you apply to do through an NPC in most places, and they'll tell you, hey, go to this area, go kill like 35 enemies, or go dig me 35 rocks. Once you're there, you finish it, you can do once a day. They give you a good chunk of experience, really solid. Next we have the Fates. While not a traditional quest, Fate stands for Full Active Time Event, indicated with a purple map icon and covered in a blue circle. These are map events that will spawn periodically and at times give you quest achievements, which lead into minions, titles, gear, just some neat little stuff that you might want to grab. Once you've got your job selected, some quests under your belt, let's go ahead and talk about the instances or duties of this game. You have the solo instance, which are used to enhance the story of what you're doing at that particular moment. These can be done alone with no party. There's dungeons, which are a point A to point B landscape. This will be your primary source of experience. Also, again, you'll be getting a bunch of them to the main storyline, but you're also going to see some on the side, so make sure you go grab them. Trials, which are boss fights, they can come in 3 difficulties: normal, hard, and extreme. So you'll start off with the normal, unlock the hard version. Once you finish that, you'll get the extreme version. There are some exceptions, but it just goes from normal to extreme, so just remember there won't always be a hard mode attached to a certain boss. Guild heists, which are extremely short variations of dungeons or trials, and cap at around level 40. 2 types of raids, so this might be a bit complicated for some players. The first type is Alliance raids, which are 24-man, split into 3-party dungeons of 8 people each. These can be summed up as bigger dungeons. They're usually larger in scope than most dungeons, and we usually get 3 per expansion. Finally, we have the normal raids. These can be summed up as harder boss fights than that of trials, and have a secondary difficulty known as Savage, which is the endgame content of the game. There's 2 more difficulties, such as Unreal, a rotating boss that will change every couple months, and then Ultimate, the most difficult boss content of the game in general. If you're interested in PvP, player versus player, this game also has that, which unlocks once you've chosen your grand company and reached level 30 on any job. You can speak to the NPC in charge of your grand company and then go visit the Wolves Den, which can be accessed by ship at the Morabit dry docks in Lower Lenosha. However, I would not say this should be your main focal point starting Final Fantasy XIV. PvP in this game is fun when it's active. However, it's not as in-depth as many other PvP options on the market. It should be something done for fun and not in a competitive mindset. However, there are rank rewards every few months that give out prizes such as mounts, minions, or gear for placing higher on the ranks. So you've got all of that down. You picked your race, your job, you've loaded into Eorzea, the world that Final Fantasy XIV takes place in. The very first thing I recommend everyone do is explore the area of the starting map you're in. Familiarize yourself with Ul'dah, Gridania, or Limsa Lominsa depending on the job you started with. Make sure you attune to all the Aethernet Shards, the blue crystals throughout the map. It's your form of fast travel in these maps. For all new players, especially if you're new to MMOs, I highly recommend giving the Hall of the Novice a quick look. It's available in all 3 major towns by the Innkeeper. The NPC will have a green emblem above their head and be called the Smith. This will be a great place to learn the core basics of being a tank, a healer, or a DPS. And upon finishing it on any type of job, you'll be awarded some nice gear, but more importantly, an item called the Brand New Ring, which will increase your experience up until level 30 by 30%. And honestly, that is a great incentive to do to help you level up your new job as well as all your alternative jobs. Once you've got some MSQ finished up, perhaps it's time to join a free company. Free companies are basically the guilds of this game. The benefit is the active actions or buffs you'll get that your free company sets up. Sometimes it's a battle experience buff, or sometimes it could be something in the lines of cheaper teleportation. There's quite a lot of actions to go through. It's a great way to meet new people and a great pool of resources, as you'll likely find new and experienced players alike willing to help you out on your adventures. While you're exploring Eorzea and you're doing your MSQ, make sure you're keeping your eyes out for monsters with a crescent above their head. They may not be MSQ objectives, but they will give you additional experience once you kill a few of them. You can check what you need to hunt in your hunting log. Finishing the whole rank will grant you even further experience. Now, the last topic that will be covered in this video is mounts. You'll have the availability to use your Chocobo, your first mount in the game, around level 20 when you choose your Grand Company. Grand Company is just assigning your character to a city-state that you prefer, such as Maelstrom, which is Limsa Lominsa and is categorized by the red color, Immortal Flames, which is Ul'dah and blue, and the Order of the Twin Adder, which is Gridania and the yellow color. There is no real advantage to any of them, and you can always swap them down the line. So choose whomever you like, or even just for their color scheme. Now that you've chosen your Grand Company, what do you do now? The quest line you have to do will be called My Little Chocobo, and it'll require you to buy an item called the Chocobo Issuance. This can be bought with 200 company seals, which is the currency your Grand Company will use. It's easy to get. You can just open up your hunting log and kill any singular enemy under the Grand Company tab. It'll depend on yours, but as you can see, mine is Maelstrom. You can also do a fate if you want. I don't quite recommend it because it might take a little bit longer, but whichever one might be easier or more fun for you. Once you've got that all covered and you've got your Chocobo Issuance and you've got your Chocobo, that isn't all that your Chocobo can do. You can't just mount it, you can also summon it to fight alongside with you. You need to do the quest called My Feisty Little Chocobo when you hit level 30. This quest allows you, like I mentioned, to summon out your Chocobo with Geisel Greens, which can be found and bought in most towns. The quest can be found in the South Shroud with the NPC Dosset. I think that's how you say it. The nice thing, not only is your Chocobo going to fight alongside with you, you also unlock the Chocobo Saddlebag and even further inventory space. You can't just open it up in instances and like a dungeon or a trial though, so keep that in mind, but it's a great way to expand your inventory for things you don't always need on you, such as maybe crafting supplies. Hopefully this introduction helped you understand some of the basics, and if there's any questions, let me know in the comments section down below. I'll be glad to help at any time. Also stay tuned for some future videos coming up that will cover more topics and some discussion videos as well. So take care guys, enjoy, and see you guys in the next video.